continues evermore. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm letting the team down a little bit today. I don't have a Christmas jumper on, but I mean, look how cute it is, okay? My friend just got back from Disney World. She brought me this jumper because she knows how much I love Eeyore, so I'm gonna wear it, okay? Deal with it. It's still Disney. Doctor Who's Disney now. Anywho, there's something that we haven't really discussed at all yet on the channel. The reason we haven't discussed it is because, quite honestly, we thought by this point everything would have been resolved and it wasn't worth mentioning. But we are now aware that there may be some viewers who might not be aware of the situation, particularly those overseas. So we thought actually maybe it would be good to bring people up to speed on this situation and shine a light on it. Because it is a very weird thing and it has dragged on for quite some time at this point. Also, we have had some comments from you guys asking for our thoughts and opinions on the situation, so your wish is our command. The situation I am talking about is the fact that the 10th Doctor episode, Fear Her, is still currently missing from BBC iPlayer. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning here with the reason why Fear Her was taken off of iPlayer in the first place. So, at the end of July / the beginning of August this year, the BBC pulled the episode because the newsreader Hugh Edwards pled guilty to 3 counts of possessing indecent images of children. Well, what does this have to do with Doctor Who, I hear you ask? Well, Edwards has a very, very minor voice-only role in the episode Fear Her, as the commentator for the opening ceremony of the 2012 London Olympics. So you can hear his voice in moments like when everybody disappears from the stadium, for example. But it's a very, very minor role.
They're gone. Everyone has gone. Thousands of people have just gone.
But because of this, if you look at iPlayer today, you will see that it goes Love and Monsters straight to Army of Ghosts, and Fear Her is completely gone. You cannot access it there. It goes straight from episode 10 to episode 12. Now, to be fair, of all the episodes to disappear, Fear Her, probably not one that's massively missed. If we're being honest here, it's not a crucial episode. It's also not a fan favourite episode. And to be honest, new fans, potentially, if the numbers of the episodes weren't on iPlayer, might not have even noticed that it was missing. If it just said Love and Monsters, Army of Ghosts, and didn't say episode 10, episode 12, most people probably wouldn't even notice that there was one missing. If you're new to Doctor Who, that is. Now, quite honestly, as I just mentioned, Fear Her, it's not a massive loss, necessarily. I mean, a lot of people would suggest that Love and Monsters is the worst episode of Series 2. I would argue Fear Her, worse. It's not a great episode, in my opinion, mostly because I find the character of Chloe Webber really annoying. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a reputation on this channel for just being very critical of child actors. Some child actors are brilliant. Some child actors in Doctor Who, not so much. Not all of them, but Chloe Webber, not great. Also, Splice in Boom. Not great. Anyway, besides the point, Fear Her, it's not a massive loss. On the other hand, it is a little bit sad that an episode has disappeared, and was it the right decision for them to remove an entire episode for such a minor role in the episode? That wasn't even a face role, it was a voice-only role. So I guess the question really is, should they have just left it alone? Should they have just left the episode up? Do we just, let history be history? Obviously, we're not going to hire that person again, but do we remove an entire episode for that situation? Obviously, please do not get me wrong, what Edwards did, despicable. Absolutely not condoning that. That is bad. Let's not get our wires crossed on that situation. But the question around whether or not you should keep removing things or changing things because of one person involved in a story is up for debate. You could very, very quickly lose a lot of content because of something that someone has been accused of doing. Again, let me just highlight, he pled guilty, it's awful, I am not condoning it. But where do you draw the line? I also think when you look at other people who have had accusations made against them within the world of Doctor Who, I mean, most recently I'm thinking the whole Noel Clarke situation, John Barrowman situation, none of their episodes have disappeared. And they play much bigger parts within the Whoniverse, so you'd think that on the scale of things, they would be the ones you'd want to focus on. Please don't remove those episodes, BBC. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't do that. But when you look at the kind of how minor one role is compared to others, it's kind of what's the guideline here for what does and doesn't get removed. I guess the big difference here may be that in this instance, he was found guilty of those crimes and a guilty plea. So perhaps that's maybe where the guideline is. But it just kind of seems like a lot of effort for such a minor role that most people probably wouldn't have even recognised. So when the episode was taken down, it was reported that it was not going to be gone for good and that the BBC were planning on redubbing Hugh Edwards' lines in that episode and then reinstating it back onto iPlayer. As I said at the very beginning, the reason we didn't really comment on it is we thought this would be a done thing within a week or so, especially considering how minor the role is, and it didn't require any sort of face replacement. It's literally a voiceover. So then the question is, what is taking so long? It's been months and it's still not back. Perhaps it was a more complex job than we think it might be. They may be struggling to find someone willing to replace Edward's voice with their own, given the situation and the circumstances, which, fair enough. Perhaps they're having problems with the master file. I mean, we are forgetting sometimes that these episodes are coming up to almost 20 years old at this point. Not quite 20 years old, but getting there. So, a lot has changed in the time. Maybe there's an issue there. Or, do you know what? Maybe they just forgot. There's a lot going on in the world of Doctor Who at the moment, especially behind the scenes. The whole Disney deal situation, there's a lot of things up in the air. I highly, highly doubt that replacing a few lines of dialogue in Fear Her is top of their priorities at this point in time. So it is feasible that, at the time they went, we better fix that. And since then they've gone, forgot about that. It's fallen through the cracks. And someone needs to be reminded that they need to finish that job. But obviously this is not the only instance we've had recently of content being removed from iPlayer. It's actually becoming a bit of a thing for Doctor Who at the moment. And we have discussed this in previous videos. But as it stands, there are a few things that have been taken down. We've An Unearthly Child, that's been gone for over a year at this point, although we do know the reasons why that is no longer available. The video commentaries for the 60th episodes, they're gone. The 60th anniversary concert is gone, although we did speculate that perhaps because the new proms is going to be released soon, that might be why the 60th concert was removed, but again, why? And the Seeds of Doom and Terror of the Zygons, also removed, gone, vanished, vamoosh. This is why we keep preaching to you all the importance of physical media. Not everyone has physical copies of everything. I certainly don't. But this just highlights how important that it might be to actually get your hands on those things, because things can disappear like that. They just vanish and then you cannot access them anymore. At any point, your favourite episode might disappear. So it's certainly worth at least finding your favourite episodes and getting your hands on physical copies of those so that you will have them forevermore. It is a little bit concerning that, more things might start disappearing in the future, especially when it comes to rights and deals with certain estates, especially for the classic stories. We've seen the results of those disagreements firsthand with An Unearthly Child and other stories. So there is a little bit of concern that they keep promoting that everything's available, but actually there's a little bit of a clause there because some things are disappearing. I mean, it is strange to think now, especially as we've just discussed how much of an underwhelming episode it actually is, that Fear Her now officially is only available on a disc, which is very interesting. Now, it's not lost to the world. It's not like those classic stories that are literally lost. It's out there, but it's not so easy to watch now. But in terms of when it will be returning on iPlayer, honestly, at this point, who knows? It was reiterated in a Radio Times article in November, on the 1st of November, that the BBC does still plan to redub it and reinstate it. So it's not that they have just decided that that episode is not worth putting back up again and replacing that dialogue, but I just feel like in the grand tapestry of everything happening in the Whoniverse, it's not the top of their priority list. Probably at some point next year, I would say. I don't think they'd leave it much longer than that, but who can say, really? We didn't think it was going to be down for this long. Again, hence why we didn't really talk about it. We thought it would be over before it was even worth discussing, but the months have dragged on, and it is still gone. So place your bets in the comments. When will we see Fear Her back on BBC iPlayer? I mean, people are calling for it. There is actually a Reddit user who is posting a meme every single day until Fear Her is reinstated. You know? There are people calling for it, so listen up, BBC, because you might think that no one cares about this episode. Personally, I don't really care about this episode, but there are people out there that want to see Fear Her back. So, sort it out. And you know what, knowing our track record, knowing our luck, now that we've done this video talking about the fact that Fear Her is no longer on iPlayer and it's been missing for so long, they'll probably put it back on iPlayer, 10 minutes before this video goes live? There is precedent for that happening. It's like the BBC have some sort of hidden camera in this room, and they just wait for me to say something and then immediately contradict me. But if that does happen, you're welcome, because I'll take it. I made that happen. If Fear Her is back on iPlayer by the time this video goes out, you are welcome, folks. You are welcome. And you know what? I wish I'd thought of it. I'm sure many of you will have seen at this point, I did have the great pleasure of meeting Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat this week. I wish I'd thought of it then, because I could have literally gone right up to them and gone, hey, what's the situation here? Where's Fear Her? Do let me know in the comments when you think we will be seeing it back on iPlayer. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of River Song herself, goodbye, sweeties.